All right, let's talk about a machine you see everywhere but probably don't think twice about, the forklift. And trust me, there is way more to this humble workhorse than meets the eye. We're going to dive deep into its surprisingly complex world.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a pretty huge claim, right? But it's actually true. Think about that package you just ordered online, or the new building going up downtown. None of that happens without these guys. They are literally the muscle behind the entire global economy.
But when you stop and think about it for a second, how could one single design possibly do everything? I mean, lifting a pallet of chips in a tiny grocery store aisle is a totally different ballgame from hauling massive steel beams across a muddy construction site. So, what gives?
Well, the simple answer is it doesn't. And that is where things get really interesting. See, it's not about one single perfect forklift. It's about a whole family of them, a whole ecosystem of highly specialized machines, each one a genius solution to a unique problem. And that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So here's the plan. We're going to start with the classic design everyone knows, then check out the off-road beasts, the masters of the narrow aisle, the ones that actually lift people, and we'll wrap up with the real specialists built for the most extreme jobs imaginable.
All right, let's dive in. First up, we've got the icon, the classic counterbalance. This is the one you probably picture when you hear the word forklift. It's the OG, the blueprint for pretty much everything that came after.
And the genius behind it is just beautiful, simple physics. It's right there in the name. A super heavy weight in the back counterbalances whatever you've got on the forks up front. It's just elegant. And it works so well that it's still the go-to design you'll see in basically every warehouse and factory on the planet.
But even this classic model isn't a one-trick pony. You've got the three-wheel version, which can turn on a dime, absolutely perfect for those cramped spaces. Then there's the four-wheel, which is your rock-solid, stable option for heavier loads. And of course, you've got your gas and diesel powerhouses for when you just need raw muscle.
In this table really gets at the core decision every single warehouse manager has to make. Do you go electric? It's quiet, has zero emissions, perfect for indoors, but you've got that long recharge time to deal with. Or do you go for gas or diesel? You get tons of power, you could refuel in minutes, but now you're dealing with fumes and a lot more noise. It's all about the trade-offs.
Okay, so warehouses are one thing, but what happens when you leave that nice, smooth concrete floor behind? Out there, it's a whole different world. And that's where the off-roaders come in, the rough terrain forklifts.
Yeah, just think about it. A regular forklift would get stuck in the mud in about, 5 seconds flat. It just can't handle a bumpy, messy construction yard. So you need a totally different animal. We're not talking about nimble precision anymore. We're talking about raw power and rock-solid stability.
And to build one, you basically have to re-engineer the whole thing. You start with these huge, beefy pneumatic tires with crazy deep treads for grip. You jack up the engine power, you tweak the counterweight so it doesn't tip over on a slope, and these things can lift a ton. We're talking over 8,000 pounds.
Now, the undisputed rock star of this category has to be the telehandler. This thing is an absolute beast. It's like a forklift and a crane had a baby. It's got this extendable boom that can reach way up or way out over obstacles. I mean, we're talking about lifting over 16,000 pounds, 56 feet into the air. That's just insane. What a machine.
All right, so we've tackled the standard warehouse and the rugged outdoors. Let's head back inside, but this time, our big challenge isn't mud or rough ground, it's space, or more accurately, the lack of it. Welcome to the world of the narrow aisle forklifts.
And this really gets to the core of how modern warehouses have to operate. Real estate is expensive, right? So every single square foot counts. The solution is simple in theory. You squeeze the aisles closer together and you build your shelves higher and higher. And these specialized forklifts are what make all of that possible. They didn't just adapt to the modern warehouse, they literally helped invent it.
And this is where the engineering gets super clever. You've got reach trucks where the forks actually shoot forward to grab pallets. You've got very narrow aisle trucks, or VNA trucks, which operate in spaces that look impossibly tight. Pivot steer trucks are really cool. The mast itself turns left and right so the whole body can stay straight. And then there are side loaders for long stuff like lumber or pipes. They just pick it up from the side. No turning needed at all. It's just brilliant problem solving.
Okay, so far it's all been about lifting stuff. Pallets, beams, you name it. But what about lifting people? Well, that's a completely different job. And as you might guess, it needs a completely different kind of machine.
And this is a really important distinction to make. Suddenly, it's not about raw power anymore. The top priority shifts completely to operator safety, stability, and precision.
You see this a lot in something called order picking, when someone has to go way up high just to grab a single item off a shelf, or for doing maintenance work up in the rafters.
And this leads us to a question I bet a lot of you have had at some point. What's the actual deal with cherry pickers versus scissor lifts? You see them both around. People kind of use the names interchangeably, but they are absolutely not the same thing.
Okay, here's the simple breakdown. A cherry picker, often just called an order picker in a warehouse, is all about getting one person in a little basket way up high, maybe over 30 feet, to retrieve an item. A scissor lift, on the other hand, has that classic crisscrossing support structure. It lifts a much bigger platform, but only straight up. It won't get you as high, but it gives you a much larger, more stable space to work on.
All right, for our last stop, we are heading into some seriously extreme environments. We're talking about places where a regular forklift wouldn't just break down, it could actually, explode.
So picture this. You're working in a sugar factory, and the air is filled with fine, combustible dust. One tiny little spark from an engine and boom. Or imagine you're in a giant commercial freezer, way, way below zero. A normal machine's wiring would get brittle and crack. These kinds of places demand something special.
So how do they pull it off? For the explosion-proof models, every single electrical part is hermetically sealed, and any metal parts that might clang together are made of non-sparking materials, like bronze. For the cold storage versions, it's a similar idea. Everything is sealed up tight, but this time is to protect against ice and condensation that would totally fry the sensitive electronics.
And really, that's the whole story, isn't it? The forklift isn't just one thing. It's this huge, diverse family of machines. It's just a perfect real-world example of form-following function, where every single design is a clever, purpose-built solution to a problem that helps keep our world running. So, next time you see a forklift, maybe you'll see it a little differently. You're not just looking at a machine, you're looking at a specific solution to a specific challenge. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What other simple things around us are hiding that same kind of incredible complexity? Thanks for tuning in.